When we talk about breathing life into characters, telling stories with them, we have to talk about making characters express and emote in every sense. Every character we make either reflects our own humanity or is personified with human qualities. We've talked before about the quality of expression in character design and also how we can build a character with a propensity for expression. In this video though, I want to talk about some common expression mistakes that newer artists make and how important it is to channel your inner actor. So often the art we make says something about us, even if we didn't intend to. Some overarching feeling of sadness or anger can seep through our work, or even an insecurity or fear. Sometimes this goes hand in hand with our artistic voice, the thing that we're trying to say with our art. But if we aren't careful, we can muddy the waters of communication. This goes doubly for artists who still happen to be in their teen years, because you're still trying to figure out the complexities of emotion and how to come off yourself. This means that a character can look as if the artist is trying too hard when they're trying to be cool, or even more commonly, trying to be awkward, interestingly enough. What will happen is a character that's meant to be flawed will be drawn with what's meant to be a sense of insecurity. But what actually comes across is this sort of maybe whimpering or guilty looking grin, or a character whose lack of self-confidence accidentally comes across as a lack of intelligence. Something we've talked about before is that expression is dependent on tone, the depth of exaggeration and over-the-top facial movements. It's dependent on the mood of the context. But a lot of animated projects can convey extremely human, realistic expression. Take, for example, any animated film that's directed by Brad Bird, The Iron Giant, Incredibles, or Ratatouille. The tone may flavor how extreme an expression can be or the outer limits of it, but that always leaves any amount of subtlety inside these boundaries. For example, SpongeBob SquarePants showcases super unique facial expressions, but still leaves room for subtle ones. You may have seen the way that animators will record reference of themselves acting out the scene that they're animating. This, like any artistic reference, is an amazing tool for getting more accurate, lifelike movements and feelings. They can always exaggerate and push the ideas behind this reference, so it's by no means something that they just copy from. But the same idea is one that could take your character's expressions to the next level. Not only are they left with something as far as a visual reference afterwards, but oftentimes if they've acted it out themselves, they get a better feel for what's happening in a scene. There are plenty of different methods of acting, including method acting, but you'll notice that an actor is never mocking or creating a parody of their character. They're fully exploring how the character that they're playing feels, believes, and how they would think. An actor playing a fool or a villain would fail at their role if their performance let on that they're aware of how dumb or evil their character is, actual parody aside. They have to show that they are fully convinced that they have the same viewpoint as the character. This is partially why some younger artists can't quite deliver on some of those character traits. It's because they aren't fully versed or convinced of their character's viewpoint. This is where that classic advice of write what you know can help bring you back to center. If you don't have a good handle on who your character is, where they're coming from, it could come out unbelievable, pandering, or disingenuous. One way of working through this is by thinking of a similar emotional experience that you've had in your own life. Actors do the same as a sort of starting point for a character. Or they could go so deep as to fully immerse themselves as the character. At first, it may feel uncomfortable to really break down your own inhibitions, even alone or in front of a mirror or camera. Some part of you may keep saying, this isn't real, I'm acting like an idiot. But the more comfortable that you can be thinking and feeling like the character you're drawing, the more authentic of a read you'll get. Reference isn't the only way to inform a character's expression. Of course, the same way that you can gather reference for a shape or aesthetic, getting reference from characters or even people that seem adjacent to your character can help to deepen the nuance. Of course, knowing what to show through your character can only be as strong as knowing how to show it. Here's an exercise that can really help you develop more nuanced and flavored expressions. Like we talked about, the tone of a piece may make it so you have extreme, full-strength, pure emotions, like fuming anger or tear waterfall sadness. Really, those are kind of like an outer boundary, though. They're undiluted emotions. But as humans, we understand the shades of emotion in between. A chart like this feelings wheel shows the way that we have lots of nuanced variations. We're complicated. This feeling wheel conveys how a core emotion is responsible for a lot of those other situational feelings. Now, I've got no idea how scientifically accurate this wheel is, nor does it matter, because you're going to use this wheel to build expressions either specific to your character or a generic human character. Utilize the mask of the eyebrows, the cheeks and eyelids, and you can really get a lot of expression out of the face, not to mention the scrunching of the nose and the multitude of movements that can come from the mouth. Try and draft out as many of these feelings as you can, preferably in a 3/4 view rather than straight on. Try to add curvature or arcs to the expressions within the face without completely breaking the construction. Treat this exercise the same way that you would a gesture drawing or still life. The practice is the work, not how good the final product ends up looking. The tilt and angle of the head can do a lot here as well. The forehead pushing forward with a dipped chin can get a character into that fuming mad state, and an almost sideways head with a blissful facial expression can look apathetic or easygoing. By all means, incorporate the body into these expressions if you'd like. You don't have to just make a tight grid of free-floating heads. Body language is a huge contributor to the expression, and it might change the meaning of something. I think that the big turning point that you can make with expressions is going from imitating the way that a character should act to really conveying that feeling. Like, think of how it's funny when a little kid says something that a much older person would say, because they probably picked it up from an adult. And it is funny, but at the same time, it's not something you'd ever believe that a child really dreamt up on their own. And that's the feeling I get a lot of times when I see someone's expression work. If they're a newer artist, it's like they're trying to sell the feeling that they think they're supposed to be selling, and it doesn't quite come across. As with anything in art, this is a journey, and I hope some of the things that we talked about can get you closer to your goals. Don't give yourself a hard time about these things. Just do your best and keep practicing. That's it for me today. I'm making new videos every week here on Character Design Forge. You can keep my forge burning over on patreon.com/bageldenizen, and you can follow along on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at bageldenizen. Thank you for watching, and have fun creating. I was going to show you during this video a recent illustration I just did where I used reference photos I took of Tay to inform the final project, but Tay probably doesn't want me to show you those pictures, and I don't want to show you the illustration yet, or I can't show you yet, so by that account, it never happened.